Any observer who is truly associated with the FIRS would always reveal the fact that the high level of consciousness the current administration has seriously developed in favor of tax affairs in Nigeria did not come from the blues, but rather is a manifestation of an excellent initiative, or at best, good thinking, as the Japanese may put it.
Basically, it is just to kick off and bring awareness to all of us that it's time that we contribute to make sure that we can have the Nigeria of our dreams. Asking everybody to pay their taxes so government will have enough revenue to provide all the services that you and I can start to enjoy.
This is the immediate action generated from the message of Professor Yemi Osinbajo, SAN, GCON, Vice President, Federal Republic of Nigeria, on the 29th of June 2017 at the official launch and the executive signing order of the nation's Voluntary Assets and Income Declaration Scheme, VAID, at the Presidential Villa, Abuja.
We must recreate our regional society structure where every citizen pays their fair share of tax from their produce, even long before the creation of money. To this end, we have agreed that every Thursday, starting from today and for the next 1 year, will be declared Tax Thursday. We expect the FIRS and every state government and we will be asking for the collaboration of their excellencies, the governors of the states, that every state government will organize sensitization events that will raise awareness of the tax system and result in massive enrollment of new taxpayers. We must enroll at least 4 million new taxpayers and increase the level of payment amongst the 14 million already registered. We expect that all state governors will personally lead this initiative and support the work of the community tax liaison officers by personally participating in programs every Thursday.
All hopefully channeled to the goalpost of FIRS.
I recall that a few weeks ago, the acting president launched a program they call VAIDS at the Presidential Villa, VAIDS. Can you tell us more? Nigerians are eager to know more about this.
Virtually every Nigerian is guilty of not paying the appropriate taxes. So they felt that the best thing to do is to offer a platform that will allow defaulters to come forward and come clean and say voluntarily that over the years I've had income, I've acquired assets in respect of which I'm supposed to have paid taxes, and I've failed to pay voluntarily, and declare that. And government is saying in exchange for such a voluntary declaration, they give certain benefits, which is one, the waiver of interest and penalty. Because typically when you fail to pay your taxes as at when due, there is interest and there is penalty. And just to be specific, in Nigeria, penalty is 10%, and currently in 2017, interest is 19%. So such defaulter will have had to pay 29% additional. Altogether. Exactly. So, but what VAID is now offering is to say, come forward and pay those taxes or declare your default, and then you will not have to pay the interest and penalty, which is at least 29%. Then apart from that also, government is saying that you will also be free from prosecution.
Okay. Have you paid VAT? Yes, VAT, value added tax. VAT is a tax paid on all goods and services and remitted by the seller of the goods or provider of the service to the government. 5% VAT is added to the total cost of goods and services in Nigeria, and when remitted to government is used for funding development. If you have not, look out for the Federal Inland Revenue Engagement and Enlightenment Tax Team's feet as they visit your area soon. They will educate you and help you register to pay VAT. You can also visit the FIRS office nearest to you to register to pay VAT. The VAT you pay will be used by government to develop our transport infrastructure like roads and railway lines, to continually improve our educational sector by building more schools and upgrading existing ones, and to provide adequate security and a better quality of life for us all. Pay your VAT. Make contribution to the development of Nigeria. It pays to pay your tax. This message is from the Federal Inland Revenue Service.
Today, we're having two presenters, myself and a colleague presenting with me. She is a television broadcaster from the Caribbean island of St. Martin. And she'd been telling me ever before she came in here, one of the very special guests you would like to talk with is the chairman of FIRS. This is an institution that is working day in and out in ensuring the attainment of President Muhammadu Buhari's agenda. And so you're welcome to this program. I have with me the chairman himself, Mr. Babatunde Fowler. You're welcome, Chairman.
Thank you very much.
Ifelola.
The FIRS plays a vital role in the economic development of Nigeria. How has it helped to foster national development in the past years especially?
Well, like I said before, the revenue collected by the Federal Inland Revenue Service is shared among 3 tiers of government: the federal, states, and local government. So even in situations where there's little or no internally generated revenue at the state or local government level, they usually look at the Federal Inland Revenue Service to provide that revenue. And of course, like I say, you may have a vision, but a vision that's not funded is a dream. And so basically we have been able to fund that vision that most of the leaders, both at the federal and state level, have.
The zeal with which the Federal Inland Revenue Service (FIRS) Executive Chairman Babatunde Fowler supplies answers to questions about the activities of the service is a pointer to a job well sorted out in the mind, and one whose implementation mode is on high gear. Everyone knows what they are expected to do and has jolly well gone at it with all verve and energy.
I have the pleasure of speaking with a gentleman that has the sole responsibility of being in charge of ICT in terms of the SA to chairman on ICT. He is in person of Wale Shoneko. I know that in the developed economies, they don't have to be coerced to pay taxes. With deploying of IT, everything goes the way it's supposed to. They know that they must pay their taxes. And so now that ICT is not just being introduced, but aggressively pursued in the delivery of tax administration in Nigeria, what should we expect?
One of our slogans, it pays to pay your tax.
Yes.
I think that still rings very, very true. But what it does is that we need to understand that with collaboration, like I said, with the MDAs, which means it's going to be harder and harder to evade taxation because agencies are now talking to each other. There's more communication. The leadership understands the value of this collaborative effort. So which means there's going to be less and less of smaller and smaller windows in where there will be loopholes. And that's where technology comes in to help address loopholes, drive efficiency, build in transparency. And I just want to encourage everyone that, ultimately we could do all these solutions, we could do all we want from an FIRS perspective, but voluntary compliance is what reigns true. And I want to encourage us to continue to do this for our great nation, Nigeria.
Then this takes me to wanting you to tell us how you've been deploying ICT to achieving the ease of tax administration, because present day government is talking about ease of doing business. Yeah.
So, what was good was that we've been opportune at FIRS to roll out a number of initiatives from a technology standpoint that aids and aligns with the ease of doing business initiative. A couple of them in the ads last week in the newspapers. We rolled out 6 e-services from our website.
Yeah.
And they all cover from the point of filing, payments, receipts, tax clearances. And what that does is it brings ICT to the doorstep of the taxpayers. And it drives efficiency, it drives convenience, it drives transparency and innovation.
So far, we have presented an FIRS whose helmsmen are bent on a persuasive attitude towards the taxpayer. The belief is that with more information to the taxpayer and the easing up of the general process of doing business, coercion for compliance becomes a last option. The current stance of the FIRS is best explained by the Director Enforcement, Emeka Obiagu, who recognizes the prompt and timely change that made his department a standalone unit of FIRS.
I recall the chairman came on board late 2015, and having worked the way the system operated, he found out that the debt management and enforcement department was just busy managing debt, and that enforcement was not put at the front burner. There was no push, there was no bite. So he felt enforcement department should be separated from debt management and enforcement to be a standalone department. Like the word enforcement tells us, our responsibility to ensure compliance with registration, compliance with tax filing, returns filing, and then finally compliance with payment of taxes. We are people to do these as a department. We have a responsibility in line with Section 33 of the Service Act to enforce. And this enforcement entails three things. We can get into distrain, empowers us to distrain. It also empowers us to take their assets and sell. It also empowers us as an institution to use substitution. Substitution writing to the banks, where these people, all the banks in the country, where these people may have current accounts, notifying them of their liabilities to the Federal Inland Revenue Service, and then expecting them to deduct what these companies owe us and remit the balance to the service.
The FIRS enforcement under the executive chairman Babatunde Fowler does not adopt the stick approach, at least not until it becomes necessary. The Revenue House under him set out to achieve its mandate by first of all making sure that the individual or corporate body was properly educated on their tax obligations. That led to the establishment of the Federal Education and Enlightenment Team, FEET. Besides the enlightenment, we should recall the tax amnesty granted some defaulters when Fowler came on board. Even when the potential taxpayer keeps defaulting, the FIRS still tries to engage persuasion and guidance. Punishment is a last resort.
Sometime last year, which is unprecedented in the history of tax administration, the executive chairman came up with an amnesty. I mean, he told companies under the amnesty program, those that have never done these things, please come forward. You are owing, let's forget the past. Under that amnesty program, the window, 3-month window time frame, those that had not registered, not paid their taxes, they were given penalty and interest forbearance, and then they had a time frame within which to liquidate their outstandings. So a lot has been done to encourage a lot of people to register. And sometime again last year too, with the Federal Ministry of Finance, an advert came forth that before you do business for government, you must show evidence of tax clearance certificate. So with all these things, it has gotten more people into the tax net. A lot of people have registered, they have their tax identification numbers, they are paying their taxes. But there are some that have made up their minds not to pay. Some due to difficult situation in the country, some due to cash flow problems. What we do as a service is that we also reach out to them. We stagger the payments. We give them time frame within which they can pay most of these outstandings.
Meaning you put a human face to
There is a human face to all we do. Our objective is not to kill the businesses. Our objective is for them to live up to their responsibilities. And from time to time, when they come up with this, with their structured payment arrangements, the chairman, we do make the recommendation to the chairman to approve. And the moment the approval is gotten, is communicated to these companies and they work to pay.
But of course, where all these fail, the FIRS enforces compliance since the law has clearly granted them the ability to bite.
The good thing we've done in this department and in the service is that there are no sacred cows. If you've taken time to read the newspapers, last year some of the major telecom firms were enforced. Some internet service providers, some oil producing companies, we enforce these companies.
Big companies.
Big companies. And if you have read in the papers, there are businesses that belong to former state chief executives. We also enforced. And it goes to show clearly that we do not have sacred cows. Anyone can be enforced, provided they comply. Last year, when we went out on this enforcement, we did not start in January. The service gave 5 months notice, advertising in the papers, pleading with people to go to their nearest tax offices, getting them, those that think their tax offices are far away from where they live, to change their tax offices so that it can be convenient and easy for them.
Like sensitization.
Sensitization. We did all those things for 5 months. But when we took off effectively from June to December last year, the sum of 11 billion naira was recovered from enforcement action.
11 billion
naira.
Only from enforcement.
Only from enforcement. Apart from that, we got another $7.8 million also. These companies were made to pay. And these are private companies. And private and mostly Nigerian, they are mostly Nigerian companies.
But what effect would enforcement have if the tools for easing the process of complying with FIRS demands are not there? We earlier mentioned the ultimate solution the Integrated Tax Administration System, ITAS, has brought about at FIRS. Here again is the project manager on an automation that has affected virtually every activity at FIRS.
The vision and mission of Mr. Babatunde Fola is to expand the tax net, expand revenue generation, expand transparency, and being able to give taxpayers more convenience in complying with the tax law. These are basically a summary of the visions and missions of the executive chairman, Mr. Babatunde Fola. And ITAS is tailored towards meeting up. Taking, for instance, before now, you spend a lot of time to do registration at the tax office. Now, you can do your registration online because of the link provided with a CAC and a Joint Tax Board. Taxpayers can do online registration now. It was not there before. Taxpayers face frustration before now in getting themselves registered and obtaining TIN. When I talk of TIN, I mean taxpayer identification number. So that hurdle has been taken care of by the present administration of Babatunde Fola. Beside that, when we come to assessment, because when you bring in taxpayer to TaxNet, the next thing is to look at his income and assessing. Under self-assessment regime, taxpayer can file based on his own knowledge of his own business activities. Now, what the tax office should do is to accept it, but strengthen the audit to test the veracity of what taxpayer has filed.
Like cross-checking.
So, under this administration, e-filing has been deployed and is working perfectly. When I talk of e-filing, I mean giving taxpayer capability to file return as his own comfort zone. When I talk of comfort zone, I mean from your bedroom, from anywhere. The moment you are connected to internet, just file your return.
Okay.
Last time, under the ease of doing business, when Mr. Chairman sent us to Lagos, and the PEBEC team asked for testimony, Nigeria Bureau came out to say, if there's anything that this present tax administration had done to us, is to keep them away from Lagos hold-up, moving from thickness of the go-slow in Papapa to go and file their return. 7 hours. Since the deployment of e-filing, they don't even move again.
Interesting.
They use that hour for other things. They will just sit down, do their return, and then open the system, e-filing environment, and then file their return. They don't come to tax office again.
Which also impacts on efficiency.
Exactly.
The same ease has also been extended to e-payment, and everyone is happy about the stress this has greatly reduced. When you come into the presence of the FIRS chairman, Babatunde Fola, you get the impression of a razor-sharp mind. It is an attribute he has, given the fact that his assignment is one for an individual who needs to think outside of the box, so to speak.
we've been opportunity and blessed with the leadership now that has put those kind of initiatives in place. Collaboration between, if you notice in this administration, we're getting a lot of collaboration with the MDAs. Various agencies are communicating with each other, sharing information. It starts from that. That's the foundation. Where we all collaborate and start sharing information. You know my pain points, I know your pain points. I know how my actions implicate the processes of your organization. Then from there, we use technology as the icing on the top.
A lot of work has been done and is still being done at the Federal Inland Revenue Service. There is even more work ahead for Fowler and his team. So, as we take you to the end of this episode, we bring you another interview we had with Nigeria's #1 taxman. Let's say that in spite of the diaspora insertion in terms of our interview panel, Fowler was typically up to it.
I've got a chance to witness you in action, and I can imagine that there are many challenges. What would you say is your main challenge right now in revenue collection and compliance?
Well, from a national point of view, I think it's the attitude of taxpayers. A lot of taxpayers, both at the corporate and individual level, have refused to be tax compliant, and they haven't faced any consequences. Basically, when you're talking about tax administration, it is a service to all the citizens, but some individual taxpayers don't realize that. They're living within what we call the Commonwealth. They're going on government roads. They're enjoying the security provided both by the federal and state governments, yet they don't pay any taxes on profits or income made. And once they realize that there are consequences, I believe that there'll be a change of attitude.
Well, Chairman, there have been a lot of efforts towards modernization of your processes and systems, especially the deployment of ICT. How would you say this have impacted on the performance?
Well, so far it's having very good impact both on revenue and also on service delivery. We have tried as much as possible to make it very convenient for taxpayers to pay, more transparent, and we have also contacted most sectors of the economy, from the airlines to the telecommunication organizations, and now we're going into sectors like the hospitality, the large corporates, so they can pay their taxes online without any human intervention. And at the same time, we're also educating the tax-paying public, so they really don't need a consultant. That's not to put them out of work, but basically we have broken it down to the point that if they decide to read up a little bit on tax administration, they can be their own consultants, pay their taxes, and get immediate evidence of payment.
Always ready to explain. That has become a trademark for the FIRS executive chairman. Actually, Mr. Babatunde Fowler has never assumed for one moment that the tax drive can be realized through the sole effort of FIRS. As hinted earlier, the Joint Tax Board remains a platform which glibly announces partnership that works. The FIRS executive chairman is known for the revolution he supervised while handling tax affairs for Lagos state authorities. It was one assignment that led to unprecedented tax returns for that state. He already has recorded 1 full year to demonstrate same capability at the federal level. Over 3 trillion naira was collected at the end of 2016 in an economy experiencing a recession. The Federal Inland Revenue Service has set a target for 2017. Its operatives are working to even surpass that. As we take this edition to the end, a final word from Mr. Fowler is not just necessary, it restates the objective.
What I would love to see is an FIRS that has been able to live up to the challenge and the mandate given to us to fund governments, to provide the type of standard of living that we all dream of or desire. So the next time you're going on a holiday, choose somewhere in Nigeria. Choose Ibadan, choose Kano, choose any of
cattle ranch.
Exactly. At that point, then we'll know that we have really reached that promised land.
Tax is what you pay, value is what you get. So the slogan continues to drop anywhere you have the FIRS campaign for tax payment. As the Nigerian economy shows signs of recovery, the FIRS team is optimistic that better returns will follow improved earnings by companies and individuals. Government needs funds for development. That's one realization that energizes the drive for tax payment. The FIRS knows this and does not hesitate for a moment in its efforts to help get those funds.